Welcome back to the Quantum Health Connection podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Baldwin, with my amazing co-host, Heather Crimson. And today we have two really special guests. I am so excited to have them with us. Really amazing people, Avi and Lauren, who are a married couple that are quantum health coaches. And what a beautiful life they're living and just experiencing and sharing with the world. And I love all the content you share on Instagram and all the, your stories and posts that you're sharing and just getting this important information out there. And we're so happy to have you. And their company name, let's see if I can get it right, that they've created is Kintsyougi. Did I get it right?
Kintsyougi.
Kintsyougi, thank you so much. And I'd love you to share about what the inspiration behind that is and just a little bit about, you guys, but really excited to have you guys here. So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so
Thanks
much
for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. Feels like a real privilege to be here, to be on the Quantum Health Connection podcast, our favorite quantum podcast, without a question.
Thank you so
kind of you. Yeah.
Listeners, we're so honored that you really enjoy our podcast and you're such loyal followers and you listen every week out on your balcony with the sunrise. I don't think it gets any better than that, Vanessa.
Seriously, they have breakfast at the sun with the podcast. I mean, that's like amazing. You guys are you're living the dream, really, in a beautiful place where the sun is shining. What'd you say, 364 days out of the year?
Like that.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
The Costa del Sol of Spain, the coast of the sun. So yeah, very lucky to have been able to position ourselves here and be able to embrace all that it has to offer from a quantum perspective.
Whilst learning about quantum.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And what are the transformation you guys have had learning all of this? I mean, I'd love to get into that first, like just share your stories, like what brought you to quantum health? Because I think you said just before we got recorded, you moved to the sunny place before even realizing the benefits that it would bring you. So what really brought you to learning about quantum health and about how it could help you?
So for years, I thought that being healthy was just balancing what I ate with how much I exercised, as many people feel that way, but I took it to extremes and I had such a passion for food that I worked for a healthy snack company, and then I went and worked in a restaurant in a kitchen, which I absolutely loved. I love the challenge, I love creating, I love food testing, tasting, all of that. But it was both physically and mentally draining, and normal jobs are either one or the other, and I had both, and I became incredibly burnt out. And burnt scars up and down my arms to prove how hard I was working. Yeah, I was burnt out. I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, PCOS, insomnia, all the things that come with being incredibly stressed. And I was also emotionally eating at the time. So I hired my own health coach because I couldn't feel any worse than I already did. And I had major breakthroughs with her in the 12 weeks that I worked with her than I had with a therapist that I'd been working with for 2 years.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that therapy doesn't have its time, place, it definitely does. It helped with some aspects, but working with her, I was like, wow, I have to do this. Like, I need people to know about this. So yeah, that's where when I enrolled with IIN, the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and I studied with them for about 2 years. I did the health training program, the health coaching program, the emotional eating psychology program, and hormonal health course, which I found all incredibly interesting. But again, it only took me so far in my journey. But that's when I turned to Avi and I said, like, we need to set up a business. We need to do this for other people because people need to know about this stuff. So I was actually doing a meditation at the time. I was using an app, and the meditation instructor was talking about kintsugi, the Japanese art form of mending broken pottery with a gold resin, which highlights the cracks within the pottery, making it more beautiful, unique. And I,
telling its story.
yeah, telling the story of where the cracks were, how it broke. And I just resonated with that so deeply
Mm.
because I felt shattered inside.
Yeah.
I felt broken.
Right. Yeah. This took a big toll on you, Lauren, the depths of the pain and distress you were in, right? It's so hard when we don't know what's going on, why it's happening. And then when we find some support, and then you start to feel better, and then you realize just how hard it was. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely.
Mhm.
So Avi suggested that we incorporate, change the name slightly to incorporate YOU in the name rather than just you, so that our clients would know that it's about them, about their journey, not about ours.
Yeah.
So that's really where it all started.
And so much wisdom, right? When we heal in the broken places and we become so much stronger, but also the beauty as we go through the process, right? It's like a metamorphosis. And then you see that golden hue. And that's like the light to me, you guys, when I think of those kinds of vessels and how beautiful they are. And then that gold strip, it's almost like that's the light that we've embodied. As I hear you, Lauren, like that's what's coming up for me. In our journey, we become lighter, right? When we unburden ourselves with all of this stuff that no longer serves us, and then we become lighter, and then that gold holds it all together, but emanates this new life force. It's kind of how I look at it. Yeah, what a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing.
Beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable with our audience. I think that's so beautiful and so brave and courageous. And I just want to honor that in this moment right now, because it takes a lot. Like, it takes a lot to be able to do that. Takes a lot of courage. And your story is going to help inspire other people, right? And of course, that's your goal, right? As health coaches, right? To share that's how we have to go through these dark, hard times to get to the light, right? And then we can share that with other people. And I want to just thank you for sharing that. And that's beautiful. Now I want to know, what was this health coach doing that, helped you?
I don't know. I think that she was just asking questions that had never been asked before, asking open-ended questions, high mileage questions that really got me to dig deep in like a much deeper level that really made me think about why I was emotionally eating, why I was burnt out, like my environment, stuff like that. And she wasn't quantum. She wasn't talking about circadian health or anything like that. It was just purely on like how I nourish myself without food, like what brings me joy, like how do I spend my time, all those things. And it was like nobody had ever asked me this.
Because we get nourishment from so many places, right? It's not just about food, but that's how we've been conditioned to think, is it's all about the breakdown of the food and the macronutrients and all that other stuff. No, it's really about joy and love. And that's how I look at nourishment now: self-devotion, pleasure in all the ways, not just sexual, but all the other ways, right? And especially I think for women, we really need that. I'm not saying men don't need it. Avi, you can chime in here, but I think women really do need to feel that kind of nourishment and be supported in with all the different means. So it sounds like it opened up, she kind of just like cracked you open, like, oh, there's so much more here than I realized about how I can take care of myself, right?
Yeah. And that's why where Kintsyougi came from. Like I was tired of suppressing all the cracks, like trying to be perfect, trying to be this perfect version of me where nothing ever was difficult or struggling with. And I didn't want to, let people in. So I think, as you said, Vanessa, by sharing this, I hope that it resonates with someone.
Oh, it will. It will. Absolutely. And it's beautiful. And like I said, I'm so proud of you for being able to do that. So now I'm wondering, those are really great things. And I love that, because I feel like, when you're on a health journey and you're just doing things because it's healthy or because somebody told you to do it, that's never going to really work unless you're actually doing things that resonate with you, bring you pleasure, bring you joy, that you actually want to go do, right? Because it's like, if I tell somebody to go see the sunrise and it might not work for them if they don't resonate with that, right? Like, this is the truth of the matter. Like, it has to resonate with you. And of course, over time, you might get more interested in the sunlight if you keep practicing it, of course, right? But it has to resonate, and it has to feel good, and it has to bring you pleasure and joy. Otherwise, it's probably not going to be your medicine. because it's almost like the life you're living has to be your medicine.
Yeah, we were literally just discussing this yesterday, which is that like it's not necessary to understand something to benefit from it, but it absolutely has to resonate with you. So you don't necessarily need to sort of understand the science, the mechanism of action behind something in order to benefit from it. But as you say, Vanessa, if it doesn't resonate with you, then unfortunately the likelihood of you benefiting from it is minimal. And I think especially if you find yourself coming up against something, you know what I mean? If it agitates or aggravates you, I think that can be very telling in and of itself. And it could be telling you one of two things. It could be telling you that it's exactly what you need, and that's why it's aggravating or agitating or activating you. But it equally could be telling you that this is absolutely not the thing for you. And I think we have to learn, what those things mean and reconnect with ourselves to know what those signals are, to learn and
that
figure out.
discernment is really important, to have that discernment, and it takes time, because I think we become so disconnected from our bodies that it really is a challenge in the beginning to trust that inner knowing and the little signs and inklings or flickers, right? Of like, oh, this is something that's good for me, even if it's like doesn't feel great at first. Like say cold exposure for me was like that. It's like, wow, that's really hard. And I don't like it. I don't want to do it. But I feel so much better afterwards, right? So, and then learning how to do it properly and not overdoing it like I did in the beginning in the ocean, because it was so amazing. But then, so it's like lots and lots of connecting to our bodies and really feeling into all of the sensations. So, but Avi, I'm curious, like when Lauren was really struggling and she was exploring and opening up these new realms and whatnot, like what was happening for you? I'm sure you were really suffering just watching her feel so bad. Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's been a big part of my journey, has been trying to support and, be there for Lauren throughout all of this. And hard as it was, and it was absolutely, heartbreaking. I think we're both glad now that it happened. And I think interestingly, part of what Lauren really gained from working with the health coach was actually the sort of workbooks, or the homework, as you might call it, that the health coach gave to Lauren that we did together. And that really helped us to figure out together, and for me to better understand like where you were coming from, why you were feeling the way you were feeling, what was triggering, etc. And so I think that was also great for the two of us. Like I think the coaching experience was good for both of us. And the funny thing with it is, from a sort of synchronicity point of view, was it was by complete chance that I met this health coach at an event. And I saw online that she was promoting a program helping people who were struggling with emotional eating. And I just instantly, as soon as I saw it, messaged her and said, I would love to introduce you to my wife. I think she would really benefit from working with you. And that's actually how it came about.
How this
So
all started.
Wow.
That one little ripple, right? It makes this whole big effect on your whole life. That's
Wow.
amazing. I love that. I always think those like little connections, we really need to tune into those things, right? Because they really are there for us to teach us something and to help us grow. And like, look at the beautiful, obviously that you become health coaches and you're helping other people, and the growth in your relationship. Now you understand each other better. Like, oh my goodness, there's so much beautiful things happening there. Amazing.
For sure. And to Heather's point about sort of being nourished more broadly than, just nutritionally, that actually was a big part of what we went on to learn, which was that this particular health coach had trained with the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And she, like Lauren, basically upon completing the course said, like, I now need to know, like, I need to know
how she did that, the magic that she unlocked.
Yeah, where did she learn what she taught me? And so she asked, and she very kindly told us, where she had studied. And so we went and studied there and learned what she had learned. And I would say fundamentally, Heather hit the nail on the head as to what it is. The integrative part of the Institute of Integrative Nutrition is understanding that it is not just about food. It's about nourishing all areas of our lives, our work needs to be nourishing, our relationships need to be nourishing, our downtime, our spirituality, sexuality, all of those different areas. And I think that really set us up well. We honestly, like, pun intended, we ate it all up. Like, we literally listened to every lecture and went off on tangent after tangent. Every sort of faculty member of the IAN, we would dive into their work and want to learn everything that they had, every book that they'd written or course that they had done, etc. And I think that really, really set us up well for where we are now, because while we've learned a lot more, and have just basically never stopped learning since then, it really sort of opened us up to thinking more broadly, like basically reopened our minds, because I think we're all born with open minds. And I think, unfortunately, modern life closes our minds and, as you said before, like disconnects us from our bodies, disconnects us from nature, disconnects us from each other. And actually, that is, to my mind, the root of all of the issues that we are struggling with today, is those disconnections.
Absolutely. So you had a very fertile, beautiful foundation, the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And then how did quantum biology enter the picture? Where did that fork come along in your journey?
Sure. So, like, as Vanessa said, moving to a better sort of quantum environment was actually, I think we'd made the connection that we weren't going to get well in the environment that we'd gotten sick. Now, that's not to say that everybody needs to pack their bags and move to another country. That's what we, chose to do, and we were fortunate to be in a position to be able to do that. That's not to say that that's always necessary. You can change the environment around you and stay where you are. But for us, it seemed like an obvious way of being able to sort of change everything. And essentially, like, from IAN, as I said, like we went the same route that seemingly everybody in this space goes, which is that basically we had gone the conventional route. Lauren had seen, top doctors in the UK privately to try to figure out what was going on. And we were never satisfied with the answers that they gave us, were we? Like, it was basically medication or procedure, treatment of some form. And that just didn't resonate with us, back to the things resonating with you. It just didn't resonate with us. And so we kept on looking. And so through IAM, we discovered, functional medicine. And, that was definitely a step in the right direction. Looking at things more holistically, more from a root cause. And I think I just seemed like I just have a certain way of looking at things, a certain way of thinking. I'm always trying to get to the bottom of things, to understand how.
He doesn't give up, ever.
Yeah. I'm a bit relentless.
I love it.
I mean, it's benefited me greatly.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
when you're working and you want to go out and he's trying to fix something, then it gets irritating.
So yeah, so we went down the sort of, as I say, the conventional rabbit hole, then we went down the functional rabbit hole. And essentially, we felt like functional was a step in the right direction, but we certainly didn't get the whole way there by any stretch of the imagination. And, we are, 6 figures into that rabbit hole. I don't regret it whatsoever, because we learned a lot along the way, but we definitely think very differently today. And it definitely has its place. Conventional and functional both definitely have their place. But it was from that continuing to dig, that continuing to want to understand, and knowing that it can't be that all of these sorts of modernities, all of these things that we have invented and come up with that we never had before, and yet we were perfectly healthy without them. It can't be that those are now suddenly necessary. That was the thing that just never made sense to me. I was like, we would go and the doctor would say, well, the solution to this problem is you're going to take this medication for the rest of your life. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. This is not a disease that is a deficiency of this medication. And then you go the functional route, and then it becomes, a supplement. And it's like, well, you need this supplement. And it's like, well, why do we need to supplement that? How do we get that naturally? How do we get that holistically? How do we get that without a supplement? And it was from that digging and just basically just never really giving up until we got to what we genuinely do now believe is the truth. And that's not to say that we don't have a lot more to learn, but we feel like we are at least directionally accurate and have at least gotten several layers deep by this point. And now, ironically, you know, we take no medications, thankfully, on a regular basis. We take no supplements on a regular basis. And as I say, that's not to say that those things don't have their place, but we are relying on nature more than ever, and doing fewer of those things that we were told it takes and that you have to do. And ironically, we are spending very little on, you know, yes, we're spending money on high quality food and to live in the place that we live, to have access to the environment that we have access to. But other than that, it's about, you know, what we get from the sun and from the sea and from the ground, you know, and it really is that simple. When I think we sort of go full circle, don't we, all of us? Like we think it must be more complicated, you know, must be harder, must be more difficult, must be more expensive. And then we sort of go full circle, and then we come back round and realize that actually it's really simple and it's really cheap.
And it's really easy.
Yeah.
Right. And enjoyable.
love.
Let's do a pre and post. Like before, your lives would have looked like what, and then now, like before you didn't get much sun, you didn't go outside as much, or whatever you were eating, and then now, because I'm guessing you guys have some access to some really good seafood there.
We definitely do. Definitely do.
So,
What's like a pre and post?
Sorry.
What's a pre and a post?
Well, when I was working in the restaurant, I was like getting up before sunrise, and then I'd go straight from bed, you know, to the restaurant. I'd open up, I'd be prepping food, and then I would stay there from like 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. I'd work in a tiny kitchen in unnatural temperatures for the UK. And
unnatural light,
very small window, not much light coming in at all. And then I'd go and train in a gym, which was basically a converted warehouse.
Wow.
So no natural light there. And there wasn't even, like, it was dark. It was basically looked like a club, if I'm being honest. The light was so dark, and it had like purple and blue and like all those different things. And I would train with a PT for an hour, and then I'd do, you know, 40 minutes of cardio, and then I'd go home and it'd be dark. So I saw no natural light throughout that day. No wonder I had insomnia and gut issues and PCOS and all the rest of it. Right. But yeah, that was basically what a day looked like. And I just do that 5, 6, 7 days a week.
And what was your diet like at that time? Like, were you already eating really healthy?
Healthy, yes. Protein, low calorie, protein bars, low calorie bars, a lot of processed, like vegan.
Yeah, a lot of plant-based
type things. What else? Like all that kind of stuff that you think you're doing the right thing, and you think
we'd fully bought into all of the propaganda, and were, you know, trying to, you know, we weren't eating meat, we were eating a lot of plant-based, you know, a lot of sort of like what you might call like supplementary, like Lauren said, you know, things like protein bars, and, you know, if it says protein on it, it must be good for you. Yep. You know, that it's got 57 ingredients and 14 numbers, and, you know, things you've never heard of and can't pronounce, but it must be good for you because it says 10 grams of protein on the label.
Yeah, I used to drink Premier Protein every day. I thought that was healthy. I'm like, this is literally just the worst thing you put in your body. So I can totally relate. But it is like, we think it's healthy. Like, it's such a retraining. Like, you know, I'll take my kids to the food store with me, and my oldest, you know, he'll do the same thing. He's like, what's wrong with this though, Mom? And I have to like show him, like, look at the back of the label. Like, I'm like always like whole foods, real foods from nature. Like, because it's not only that you're probably nutrient deficient from doing that, you were also very light deficient, obviously, from the way you were living, and nature deficient and earthing deficient. Like, you're missing all of that with the way you were living. So tell us about, how does your life look now?
It's completely different for both of us.
The antithesis of that.
Well, as you know, terrace in the morning for breakfast, watching sunrise, and then we spend a lot of time out, as much time outside as possible. Like, even going grocery shopping, like, I get a headache in the unnatural artificial light. It just I had no idea how messed up.
With blue blockers?
No, I actually don't have daytime blue blockers, but just being in there for 20 minutes, you know, I have come out and I have a headache. But yeah, so we try and spend as much time outside as possible. Most of the morning, if we can, we take calls outside, client calls outside. And and then we have lunch, and then we like either work at home or we take more calls outside depending on weather and time and all of that. And that's basically,
yeah, we walk on the beach
Yeah.
as often as we can. Like obviously that's the sort of ideal sort of grounding environment, and we do, we try to sort of live in sync with the seasons so far as, enduring the heat at the peak of summer, and likewise embracing the cold, in the, as much as it's not as dramatic, the shift here compared to, what we were used to. I suppose that's the biggest thing, like moving where we've moved, is that we're a little bit closer to the equator, so it's a slightly more stable light environment. Probably the single biggest change that we've made really is the circadian one, in the sense that we consistently, I'd even go as far as saying religiously, wake up before sunrise, block all artificial light until we go outside and see natural light, 15, sometimes as much as 30 minutes before the sun rises in the morning. And then likewise at the back end of the day, we only eat during daylight hours. And then, we stop eating 3 or 4 hours before bed. And then likewise, once the sun sets, thankfully, being that little bit closer to the equator, those times are a bit more consistent here. And I completely, the struggle is real for those who live in more northern or more southern latitudes that are not light stable environments. So I absolutely, and we still travel, literally just a few months ago, we were in London, and sunrise was 4:30 a.m. and we
didn't miss it.
We didn't miss a sunrise. We didn't miss a sunrise for 2 weeks. We saw sunrise every morning. We watch the sunset every evening. So yeah, we are really committed to that. And to be perfectly honest, the reason we're so committed to it is because we've seen so much benefit from doing so. We feel so much better. It sounds hard to anybody who isn't doing it. It's almost unfathomable. Once you start doing it, it's unfathomable how you didn't do it.
You can't go back.
You really can't. We wake up every morning without an alarm. We, like I say, we make sure we block artificial light. We don't eat anything. We go outside for the sunrise. We eat breakfast soon after. Like Lauren said, we'll spend the majority of the daylight hours outside as much as possible. Spend as much of that time grounded as possible. And then, like I said, we'll, sort of wrap up at the end of the day, stopping eating, several hours before bed, and certainly before sunset, sorry. And then we have, and then again after sunset, we block artificial light until we go to bed. And yeah, that for us has been, the biggest change. Yes, our diets have changed. Yes, the way that we work out has changed, and, all sorts of things like that. But really the biggest one is living, in sync with nature, especially with the light dark cycles.
Yeah, which is important for our listeners. I mean, our consistent listeners are going to know this already, but the first order of business in being able to up-level your health and be in sync with nature is to think about the light diet, if you will. So it's about what nutrients am I getting from the light frequencies, and how am I living in accordance with the light dark cycles, because that's going to optimize my circadian rhythm. That's the best thing for mitochondrial health. That's what's going to help me get a better foundation, right, of overall functioning. Secondarily are the other things like the food.
And that was the biggest shift. That was the biggest shift for us, was realizing that it's funny, because in conventional thinking, so much emphasis is put on the importance of food, of diet, of nutrition.
Even functional.
Absolutely. And yet people who sort of subscribe to that way of thinking often have the worst diets, even though they think that food is make or break, and yet often, they have the worst diets.
But do they even know that they have the worst diets? I wonder that sometimes too. They think they're eating the right thing because they're following mainstream narrative that actually is not really great for you too. That is the other problem,
But definitely, like you say, Heather, absolutely, we have learn that, that, like you say, that timing, that the light is in reality foundational, that it comes before the food. and that I think was a tremendous shift in our thinking. And now that's the main thing that we think about, and that's the way in which we plan, is based around, around time. And I suppose I mean that in every sense. Time insofar as and light insofar as what we eat, when we eat it. You know what I mean? It informs both of those aspects, doesn't it? Because there's the circadian piece of it, so far as on a day-to-day basis, but then there's the circannual piece of that also, so far as what is appropriate in your current environment. And so it informs that too. But definitely, when is definitely, more important than what, to my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yes, when is so important. Mm-hmm.
So what specifically have you guys noticed the biggest health changes and improvements after moving? Yeah, and changing your light environment.
So many things. I mean, for me personally, struggling with insomnia, like I don't have that anymore. So that's massive. And cravings and all of those things, like I don't have anymore. And my menstrual cycle was a massive, huge turnaround from not getting a cycle to being on time every month, or not even on time, but like being regular every month. It was like mind-blowing to me, the fact that that has changed so drastically in such a positive way. I'm like from being told that I would have to be on medication and possibly surgery, to standing outside and seeing sunrise and, a bit of grounding and all of that to cure it.
Yeah. How empowering is that for listeners, right? Like, it is so possible to make these simple lifestyle changes that make such a huge impact on your body and your physiology. And it's like, you can all do it. So I just want to send that message out there. Like, it is possible. If you're struggling with something, it is possible to make changes and have these amazing things happen. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
I think also, it also doesn't matter where you are, in the sense that I think everybody, if you aren't practicing these principles, you will benefit. I was not where Lauren was, and I'm obviously male, not female, and there's definitely a difference there. But I thought of myself as being healthy. I certainly didn't think of myself as suffering from any chronic illnesses or diseases. But my health has improved so dramatically. We don't know what we don't know, and we don't know how good we can feel until we feel better. And I think that's like a big epiphany for me, was thinking I was fine, thinking I was healthy. And actually, my health has improved exponentially. And I'm grateful, for everything that we have learned, largely in pursuit of figuring out Lauren's health issues. But in reality, like, we have both benefited from that. And that also is, what led us to want to help others, because we realized that even if somebody considers themselves to be healthy, there's whole other levels of, not just health, but life for them to experience that they haven't experienced yet if they aren't practicing these things. Even if they're lean and fit and don't get sick often, etc., that isn't all there is to it. There is so much more to it than that. There are whole other levels of life to experience that you can only experience, in my opinion, when you sort of get in sync with nature.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, if you're sick better, or if you're well and want to optimize.
Yeah, because like you're saying, people who don't ever get sick is not always a good thing. So you're right. Sometimes people don't realize that they could have underlying health issues that just aren't showing up because there's an absence of ill health, but they don't have actually good health. Right. So it's I think something that's a disservice by the medical industry, is like, oh, as long as you don't have symptoms, you're fine. Well, that's not necessarily a good sign either. But I know you two are working on some really amazing health endeavors and bringing this message to the world. So tell us about your new projects.
For sure. So obviously we've got Kintsyougi being our health coaching business, where we work one-to-one with people. But there's a limit to how many people we can work with that way. And we want to do more. And so we've partnered with a team of other people, our co-founders, Daniel White and Jeff Gibson, who are also in this space. And we've formed a new organization together, which is called Quantumly, and the Quantumly Foundation, which is the charity that we've set up. And we are launching on the 20th of October, the CRD Challenge, which is what we're really hoping will be the entry point for so many people who maybe have just sort of got like a peripheral awareness of everything that we've been talking about in this, in this podcast, but haven't yet started implementing and embracing these strategies. And it's a 21-day program. It's completely free of charge to take part. There's no cost to entry. There's no equipment that anybody needs to buy. It's completely free. And they can sign up at thecrdchallenge.com is the website, where they can learn all about the program. It's a 21-day program, as I say, bite-size information. But most importantly, the whole program centers around a community. So the way that it'll work once people sign up is they'll be invited to join the online community that we are building, where we're going to deliver this education, bite size, really easy to understand, broken down. But we're also going to support people throughout the entire process, answer any questions that they have, connect them with other people who are interested in this, as well as an incredible roster of ambassadors, including the two of you. We're absolutely delighted to say. So there's also, we've got more than 100 ambassadors who are also going to be there to, to support these people and, just sort of wake more people up to what we've learned and help more people see the benefit. And then beyond that, if people want to learn more, they can connect with, any of our ambassadors, to learn more from them. And we're also going to build out a community down the line after the challenge for people who want to go deeper also.
Wow, that's amazing. It's going to be so great to reach so many people. And like you said, it's a free service. Like that's a beautiful thing that you guys are doing. And I think it's going to reach so many people. And I was just listening to Daniel White just recently on, I think it was Sarah Kleiner's podcast, and they were saying how they're going to help bring this into schools and bring this into other communities like that. And I think that is such powerful places where this work needs to happen. And as a former teacher, it hits my heart a little bit, because I think that that's can make such an impact. If we can impact the children and switch that environment up for them, it's going to change the future and trajectory of the world. So I'm thrilled to hear about it. I'm so excited and happy to be a part of it. And I know Heather is too. And just like happy to share as much information as we can, like going forward with it. And I think it's amazing.
Thank you. We're so excited about it.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate your support. And like you said, Vanessa, that's part of it for us, is we want to reach as many people as possible, and as early as possible in life. Obviously, it's available and accessible to everybody, but working with with children and with schools is absolutely a key part of the mission of Quantumly and the Quantumly Foundation, because the earlier we can intervene, we all have the privilege as a collective of growing up without a lot of the things that are unfortunately disconnecting us from nature today. And so for us, it's not necessarily been as hard, I would say, to dial back our use of technology. For example, for kids who've grown up literally their entire life with iPads in their faces and what have you, it's going to be a lot harder. And so, we're acutely aware of that. And like you said, Vanessa, and obviously from your experience as a teacher, the environment that even kids are learning in today, unfortunately, is sort of stacked against them, certainly from a circadian perspective. And so educating, both, educating parents, educating kids, and educating teachers and people who, run schools in ways that we can improve the lighting environment, screen usage, and especially, the artificial light at night component. So when kids are not in school, what they can do, to ensure that they embrace the dark and have optimal recovery and optimal sleep, and, then get more out of school the next day, is absolutely at the core of, what we're looking to achieve.
And you two are the ones who created that? Or is it
so
Daniel?
with Daniel, so it's the four of us. So Lauren and I, Daniel and Jeff, have have created, we've set up Quantumly together, and we've created the CRD challenge between us, and we'll be delivering it jointly.
Nice. Okay. Well, we need to promote that more, Vanessa.
Yes, well, so it's just starting. The promoting is just beginning, I believe. So this podcast will come out before it starts on the October 20th, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. So we'll make sure that this podcast comes out before that.
I thought you
For
said
sure.
September. Okay, perfect. I want to send it out to my list. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so exciting. It's such a wonderful thing that you guys are doing. Really, truly amazing.
Mhm.
So I also wanted to ask you guys, I know that you guys have dabbled in homeopathy a little bit. Do you guys want to share your experience there at all? Just so our listeners could have an idea of what that experience is like. We were talking a little bit before about how sometimes things can aggravate. I know that can happen with homeopathy too. And it's like sometimes that's a good thing, or a lot of times it's a good thing in homeopathy. But I'm just curious, what has been your experience with that when you guys dabbled in that?
Definitely some aggravations.
Yeah.
It's been really good, from going from functional and conventional medicine, where you're prescribed things that suppress symptoms and just ignore them, just block them out, will just power through, to homeopathy, when you want the aggravation, you want the trigger, you want to get everything up and out. Like, I was never really one to take medication anyway, even if I had PMS or anything like that. That's why it never really resonated with me, like you were saying before, Vanessa, about it having to resonate with you. I always hated taking medication, but I knew that I wanted to heal. And the only way to do that was, well, one of the many ways to do that was by taking homeopathy. And yeah, the aggravations were intense but short-lived. And I'm glad that, you can get through that, because yeah, on the other side, it's just, why not? To see and feel the benefit, to feel more you than you've ever felt before, rather than suppress everything. Like, I think we suppress so much anyway in our lives. Like, why do we want to suppress cold and flu symptoms, or anything, period pain? Like, your body is trying to tell you something. It's trying to send you a message, and you're suppressing that message. Is just, it's probably the worst thing you can do, which is something that I learned. So
yeah, I think in the way that like quantum and circadian principles have taught us how to reconnect with nature, reconnect with our environment, reconnect with the universe,
and yourself.
Well, I was going to say, like, I think, yeah, and with yourself, I think homeopathy is quantum medicine for the internal, so far as helping, our bodies resonate. And that's certainly been, our experience has been that after years, unfortunately, of, suppressing, to create that coherence and allow for healing to happen in the same way that, watching the sunrise and watching the sunset and living in accordance with nature in that way. I think homeopathy from an internal perspective can create that same sort of resonance on the inside. And I think, like I said earlier, having gone down the sort of conventional rabbit hole, then the functional rabbit hole, part of going down the quantum rabbit hole has been, exploring quantum medicine in the form of homeopathy. And I think, unlike conventional and functional that have, obviously upsides, but also have downsides, from our perspective, at least from, practicing homeopathy, or utilizing homeopathy, it's all upside. Like, there is no downside, as in, yes, there might be a temporary, sort of like aggravation or activation, but it's short-lived and ultimately, results in healing without side effects.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Beautifully said. Yeah. Yeah, really beautifully
Side
said.
effects are not side effects, they're effects. Like, that again is propaganda to label them side effects as though they're something that happen on the side and are incidental. And it's like, no, that's what the thing is causing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Wow. Well, this has been so amazing chatting with you guys. I really enjoyed this conversation so much. Is there anything that we didn't get to chat about that you guys wanted to chat about? Did we miss anything?
Well, I wanted to ask you guys about
No.
where you see yourselves going in the future. You have the new Quantumly. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So as I said, like, there's, we, as much as we absolutely love, Kintsyougi, health coaching, working one-on-one with people, and it's something we're plan to continue doing for as long as we can. There's just a limit with how many people we can work with. Obviously, it's one-to-one, so it's very time inefficient, unfortunately. And so the intention with Quantumly is to reach much further, to touch far more people, far more communities. I suppose one of the visions for Quantumly is there's an expression that I often use sort of with the team, which is that there's a dent been put in the universe that we're looking to take out. And I think the only way of achieving that is by doing something at scale. And we're, thoroughly grateful for people like you guys and everybody in the quantum space. It's the most beautiful community that we've ever been a part of. And, there is no competition in the quantum community. Everybody just wants to support one another, lift one another up, help one another to help more people. And we're, so grateful to count ourselves amongst that. And essentially, that is what Quantumly is going to be about. It's going to be about building a community that anybody can be a part of and that will be supported by the entire quantum community to help as many people as we can possibly help, and in as many different ways as possible. Like Vanessa said about like working with kids and with schools, and just giving people different entry points, different means of accessing this information, connecting people with people like yourselves, so that people can find the practitioners that resonate with them. We don't know it all. We can't help everybody, but what we certainly can do is help all of the, incredible people that are doing work in this space connect with as many people as possible. And so like community is really the word that just keeps on coming up over and over again in what we're doing. And that is what we want to do. We want to build a new community, or, communities, to get this message as far and wide as we possibly can to help as many people as possible.
I love it. So beautiful. Well, that's the quantum way, right? We're all connected. It's all about that love frequency. And so you guys are building basically the fabric to hold all of that, or so that people can actually see it and grab onto it and be a part of that. Because I think like when we're ill and when we feel disconnected, we feel so alone, right? And so it's really hard to heal in this place where we are scared and alone. So when you're describing all of this, that's what comes up for me, is like, oh, we have a way to be inclusive and everyone belongs. Everybody can benefit from this medicine. Everybody is able to reach out and they can choose, right? That agency. Oh my God, we lost them.
Oh no. Yeah, their internet was kind of cutting out a little bit.
Let's wait for them to come back in and then we'll wrap it up. But they've been, there they are. Hello. Okay. Oh, I'm so glad you're back. I was just saying how you guys are building that, right? You're building basically the foundation of love so that everybody can be included and it can reach everybody. Just like light reaches everything. So I can't wait to see what unfolds and to be a part of it more directly and start to get involved and see your community platform and all of the good things. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you guys for being, you're basically using the energy that you've gained from living this lifestyle and then returning it to the universe, to the community. So thank you. Yeah,
it's all about creating that wonderful ripple effect, and it's going to help so many people. And I love everything Heather was saying just about how that healing can feel so isolating, and just bringing this to people is so huge because now they can be a part of. And like you said, Heather, everybody can do these things because it's free and accessible to everybody. So that is so beautiful. And I'm just so glad that you guys are doing this. And I know it's going to help so many people, and what an asset it really is going to be to this whole quantum community. And just, we're so excited to be a part of it with you guys, and so excited that you guys are doing this, and just amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So like I said before, anything else that you guys want to share that we missed on, or?
I think we got everything.
Yeah, no,
got everything. Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you guys sharing your journey. Tell people, if they don't know already, where they can find you, work with you, all the things, right?
For sure. So yeah, so our health coaching business is Kintsyougi. That's KINTSYOUGI.com, or on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And at the moment, the CRD Challenge, which is the first sort of venture and the first community that Quantumly is building out, is just the CRDchallenge.com. And likewise on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc., just at the CRD Challenge. So, we'd love anyone and everyone who's a part of the Quantum Health Connection community to, connect with us, reach out to us, follow us in either or both of those places.
Perfect.
Beautiful. We will have all that in the show notes for everybody to take a look into and to join the CRD Challenge and to get in contact with you guys to get your support. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on. It was a beautiful chat. We really appreciate the time that you guys shared with us today and the knowledge that you shared with our audience and your experience.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, thank you.